Wow, 2 people already. Today is the day. TTYSH for everyone. So I'm going to show everyone how to install it on their clean Arch install. Pretty simple. Now you can have the fastest desktop, or as somebody coined it yesterday, text top in the world. Don't want GNOME, don't want KDE, don't want Cosmic desktop. Don't even need a window manager. That does come included with a window manager if you're using X11. 4 people. Wow. The excitement. Let's just hope I don't mess it up. How embarrassing would that be? So how is everyone? I'm just waiting, by the way, I'm just waiting for my clean Arch install to clone a copy on my virtual machine, on my Virt Manager. I'm just waiting for a copy that I can use to demonstrate TTYSH, setting it up, installing it, whatever. Wow, down to 1 person. What happened there? But I got thumbs up. That's all that matters. Got to have those thumbs up. 2 people. So have a little chat if you want about Linux stuff. I'll wait a bit longer for some more people to come on, and then I'll do the setting up or install, if you want to call it that, of TTYSH, showing people how to do it. And then in future streams and videos, I'll probably properly go through each function of TTYSH. The great thing about TTYSH, however, is that it's kind of documented how to use it as you use it. Everything's prompted, so it's so easy to use, really. So you see the TTY, the Linux console doesn't need to be so scary. This is how I use my Linux desktop. Now notice the funny thing, this webcam now just works. You know, all those times where I would start up a stream and it would just flicker and all that kind of stuff. It doesn't do that anymore, it seems. Last 2 times, including this one, it seems to just work fine. I don't know what happened. Maybe it was an update to the driver. Okay. Still only 2 of you. It's funny, I started the stream and there was like 4 people. How strange. Usually never happens. Three people now. I might be overly optimistic, but I might wait until there's like whole 7 people on before I do it. And as I said, that one person left. I mean, to be fair, where else would you get some kind of novel product, some kind of unique software on a live stream? Not many people. Most Linux live streams is like testing some beta version of Cosmic Desktop. You know, this is new original product right here, and anybody can use it. Hello, person number 3. Has there been any Linux news since yesterday that I need to know about? Anything exciting happened? Like I said yesterday, I'm kind of out of the loop of all this stuff at the moment because I use the world's least popular Linux desktop, Hyperbola, and so nothing really matters to me. Just live my own little bubble, my TTYSH, Hyperbola, my 2,000 subscribers. You know, what are the cool kids up to, you know? I just don't know anymore. Okay, I might have to revise down the numbers Obviously, I'm not even going to get a crazy number of people, like 7 people today. So I might just wait till I get 5. Probably end up settling for 1, but I don't know. Yeah, so person number 3, if you're wondering what's happening, I will be doing the setup and install of TTYSH to show everyone how to do it who wouldn't ordinarily understand how to do it, and that's about it really. So I'm just waiting for maybe a couple more people to come on, and then I'll do it. Out of curiosity, all 3 of you, any one of you interested in using TTYSH? Or are you already using it? Have you already tested it? I'm guessing that's a no. Okay, I'll tell you what, I'll give it another couple of minutes and then I'm just going to get into it. It doesn't really matter. All 3 of you will be the privileged 3 who will get early access to setting it up, although really it's just pretty simple. It looks like it's just us, all 4 of us. So let's just sort of do this. Okay. So first off, I don't use GNOME. I don't use KDE. I don't use Cosmic Desktop. I don't really even use a window manager. What I use is TTYSH. What is TTYSH? Well, somebody has called it a text top environment, which is quite a nifty name. Then you think of your usual desktop environment like GNOME, like KDE, like Cosmic. You get your full suite of applications. You get a nice graphical environment if that's what you like. And then, of course, if you don't use a desktop environment, you probably use a window managers such as i3, maybe DWM, maybe Awesome WM, whatever it's called, BSPWM. What there really isn't out there is something for the Linux console. What is the Linux console? Well, the TTY, which is sort of what's popularly what it's known as most commonly is the TTY, which is before any graphical elements such as X11 or graphics server, graphics driver, or Wayland loads up. It's your like server type distribution. Really, very few of these have ever been used as a desktop. Usually you have to have X11 or Wayland to get this kind of thing. What's interesting about the Linux console is you have things like frame buffers. And I've done videos on this before. And with a frame buffer, you can draw graphics. You can have graphics. There are applications that allow you to play video, view PDFs, view images, and so forth, without having to load X11 or Wayland. Okay. What I've done is I've taken the functionality of things like the frame buffer, the Linux console, which is text only, hence the text top type description, and sort of combine this together in a script or program, whatever you want to call it, with huge amounts of automation, with built-in instruction on how to use it. And this allows you to have effectively a desktop that's not solely reliant on graphical user interface. The nice thing about it as well is it's lightning fast. You could have the oldest computer or the newest computer. Performance is effectively consistent. Functionality is almost equivalent or better in some regards than a lot of desktops out of the box, and it's light. The whole thing idles at about 100 and something meg, maybe 150 meg, as just being on the TTY on the Linux console. Okay. I don't, however, exclude people from being able to have a graphical user interface such as X11 or Wayland. That comes included, and you can load it up. You can use a window manager. I have i3 shipped with it because of the necessity of web browsers. However, maybe future releases, I will be focusing on the Lynx browser, but we will look at that another time. Now I'm going to show you how to install this, how to set this up. So maybe I will share the screen now. Okay. So if you look here, so I've got a virtual machine here. Now this is an Arch Linux install. This is like a base installation that you get from the Arch Wiki. I've done a video on this, so you will need this. You'll need Arch Linux or Artix Linux, a base install to use TTYSH. That's what it's built for. And I've done a video on this. There are videos on the internet, or follow the Arch Wiki. Get yourself a base installation. Make sure you have internet access. But that's really all you kind of need. One other thing you'll need is Git, because you need to Git clone the repository. So you've just logged into your new clean install of Arch Linux. Now, if you're using a Arch Linux with all your files on it and whatever, I would just caution maybe against that, because we're probably going to be overwriting packaging. Well, I say overwriting. It's just best with a clean install. That's all I'd say. So if you're doing this on a virtual machine or bare metal, make sure it's a clean install. And certainly if you want to start from scratch, save all your stuff, install this, and then save over all your files, for example. So first thing we need is Git. Okay, so I'm going to do sudo pacman -syu and Git. Okay. So now it's going to reinstall Git. I've got it installed already, so I'm going to hit no. So that's necessary because we need to Git clone the repository. Let's leave that there. So the repository is on my website. You can get the link there. So if you go Well, I'll tell you what, I'll put the link in the description of the actual repository for TTYSH, okay? So this is the link at the top here. This will be in the description. And then if I click on code, it gives me a URL for cloning the repository. So all the files you need to set this up. So we're just going to write this out. Pretty simple. You'll only have to do this once, so don't worry about it. So I do http. Oh no! First of all, sorry, you want to do git clone, and then you want to do https // and then it is github.com/James Champion GitHub /TTYSH.git. I think that's right. I'll just check that. That looks good. Yeah. Okay. So hit enter. And as you can see, it's done the cloning. So if I type ls, you can see the folder. So if I cd into TTYSH, this will have all the files, resources, all that you need. And all we need to do now is /TTYSH. Just another caveat. When I said like a base install of Arch Linux, make sure you've got sudo privileges for a user, because you're not going to be using this on root. It does require root for certain functions in the program, but installing it, you need to install it on a user like a desktop. Think of a desktop having a user. I've got videos on this. This is again sort of included in the base install, which I will include a link in the description. Okay, so we do /TTYSH in the folder, hit enter, and then the first time you use it, it will come up with this prompt. First time using TTYSH, sorry, blah blah blah. We just want to hit Y for yes. Okay. And what it's going to do is going to update the system, and then it's going to start installing various packages. So it will take a bit of time. So just bear with it. Stick with it, because you'll be prompted to your sudo password. But also don't necessarily leave it, because it might time out. So you'll only have to do this once. So I'm just going to let it doing its thing. Hi, Ahmed. I mean, one of the biggest things it does is downloading Go, the programming language, and all of its different things for the Yay package manager. I'm going to stop sharing the screen, let that do its thing, and then I'll start sharing again once it's ready. So expect all 4 of you now to be installing TTYSH. Only joking. Sorry for the noise. For some reason I got like a leaf blower outside. Thanks, guys. So just to update you, it's still installing the packages. It shouldn't take too long on bare metal, probably on your virtual machine. If you're using a newer computer than mine, it'll be even quicker. But the thing runs pretty much the same speed for everyone. Obviously, I'm streaming, so this ThinkPad X201 from 15 years ago is doing quite a lot of heavy lifting. Wow, briefly had 5 people on here. Going crazy for TTYSH. What's going on? 5 people. Still installing, still updating packages, but it's getting there. Shouldn't be too long now. That's basically it, to be honest. That's basically all you need to do to set up TTYSH, which shouldn't be complicated, I know, but that's pretty much it. There will be some little extra configuration things when you run certain functions in it, which is good as well. But from there, it's whatever you want it to do, whatever you want it to be. Like I said to anyone else who's just come in, another stream in the future, new videos in the future, I will cover different functions of TTYSH just to show it off to people, what it can do. But again, you don't actually need myself to demonstrate TTYSH. It's not like even self-documenting, but as you use it, it prompts you and instructs you how to use it. And that's how I use it. This isn't, I'm not here to hold your hand, so to speak. That's actually how I use it because it's sort of intuitive, right? It explains what it's trying to do, which I think is a great thing. Otherwise, all you're ever doing anyway is just putting commands in a command line and doing all the heavy lifting, so to speak, or, almost like any desktop environment, right? That's why you have a graphical user interface, except with this is 10 times faster. Older and newer computers, doesn't matter, it will run like lightning on them, and it's the best way to use your desktop computer, in my opinion, obviously. But it doesn't exclude graphical user environments such as X11 and Wayland, mainly because of the web browser. But I will be working on things like Link's web browser in the future for having like curated websites to give you a half decent web experience. Or let's say, when I say half decent, really a curated web experience where anything superfluous is just chucked away, because the web is full of superfluous things. Obviously, everybody has their own curated web experience anyway, but or Gopher experience as well. It will include Gopher sites, this kind of thing. You have a protocol, right? I won't be doing Gemini protocol, however. Well, I won't be now at this moment in time. I wonder if people will ask for that. But certainly Gopher and the web through links, curated. And don't just assume as well that that web experience won't include images, for example, video or whatever. This is the other thing people need to realize, or people don't need to realize, but people might not be aware of, is that any Gopher website can host links to downloading images, for example, downloading video. It's just that it's not in line, right? It's not overlapping. And that's an important principle I have about a healthy, good usage of the web. That doesn't exist, of course, but that's just a principle I have. But that's for the future. So let's see how we're doing. Still installing some packages. Like I said, this is updating on a virtual machine, TTYSH, so it's going to take a bit longer, and I'm streaming at the same time, right? And I'm using a 15-year-old laptop, but again, once it's installed, it will run like lightning. It will run like lightning for you as well if you're going to use TTYSH. I think it's nearly done. Well, I got, wow, 9 people now. You're all so late to the party, guys. Where have you been? You're missing all the good stuff. Well, you can watch all this stuff back. But yeah, so if you just turned up to the channel, I'm just finishing the install updates of packages for TTYSH. I'm just going to show it off in a minute. I'm just waiting for it to finish. Looks like it's nearly finished. Wow, 10 people. Crazy, crazy numbers. 10 people. What's going on? Two likes. I've made it, guys. I'm breaking the internet. Popularity is soaring. Still waiting for TTYSH to update its packages. I think it's been like 15. No, has it been 15 minutes here? 10 minutes? Abhisek Nautiel, sorry if I can't pronounce your name properly, just here in random. Well, welcome to random. You're in the perfect channel. You're getting a world exclusive of TTYSH, the best desktop or desktop experience you can get on Linux. This is Error YouTube. This is Error U video. Don't know what you mean. I'm sure I'll make plenty of errors. I hope the video is working. If it's not, YouTube trying to sabotage the best software project. Obviously jealous. YouTube, Google. You wouldn't get this from Google. You wouldn't get this from YouTube. You wouldn't get TTYSH. So we're not using any Windows protocol like or Wayland. Well, here's the thing. TTYSH includes Wayland, includes the Sway window manager, includes the i3 window manager for X11. The principle, however, is TTYSH does the majority of its desktop experience in the Linux console on the TTY, which you don't really see available. And although the experience for anybody using Linux is perhaps unique to themselves, I would say TTYSH does include a lot of things that you would get in your applications. Let's say you'd get in, say, KDE or GNOME, the default ones. They're just effectively text-based, right? However, because the Linux console uses the Linux frame buffer, you can draw graphics, you can play videos, you can view images, PDFs. So the great thing about TTYSH is that it's a desktop environment that's not a desktop. It's not even a window manager. It's not dependent necessarily on X11 and Wayland. And that means it runs like lightning on a 15-year-old computer or a 1-year-old computer. Okay, right, I'm going to share my screen again because it's finished updating, okay? So if I don't install any D or window manager, what is or isn't possible? So the point is, this comes packaged with i3. This comes packaged with Sway. If you don't use i3 or Sway, then you can, of course, switch things out if you want in the source code, which is not difficult. Probably I'll do a video on that. Because if you obviously know how to install DWM, if you know how to install some window manager, then you'll know how to do it. But I'll do a video on that future. This is obviously curated, so these are my programs. Of course, you can use the Linux console desktop like you can anything else and install whatever you want through Pacman. Right, so I'm going to share my screen again as it's finished updating the packages. Okay, so TTYSH has done its configuration, it's done its updates, it's installed various packages. So if you look at the end of the update wizard is finished, please exit out of TTYSH and reboot to complete. So TTYSH again does give you instructions on how to use it. So if you look at the bottom there, Q to quit. So type Q, and then I'm just going to reboot. Okay. So we'll let it do its reboot. In a second, we'll log back in. So log back in. And if I, of course, if I do ls, I've still got TTYSH there. So if I cd into TTYSH, ls, and /TTYSH, as you see, it doesn't prompt for the wizard now. This is the splash screen. This is all running on the frame buffer. There's no X11 here, no Wayland here. So if I press Q to continue, now you can see TTYSH has loaded effectively, and you've got your selections. Okay, so I'm not going to go through all of it right now. We'll go through things in the future, but if you type H for help, that will give you the help page from there. And if you hit Q to quit, it goes back to your selection. If you type Q to quit, it will quit. So /TTYSH to load it again. Load up splash screen, Q to quit out of that. If you type SH, that will do like the setup wizard for your scheduling. Otherwise, if you just want to do something, so if I type H and I wanted to, for example, load up a spreadsheet, I then type S. So this is for your selector, okay? And then if I type SP for spreadsheet, I believe. Now I'm in SCIM, the spreadsheet tool. Okay, so I'm going to quit out of that. And then obviously we're back to the selector. Again, I could type H and then look through this. And of course from here, so if I hit Q, I can hit Q again to quit. Okay, that is TTYSH. It's self-explanatory. It shows you what to do as you use it. Just play around with it. It will do everything as you use it. The manual's built in, the prompts are built in. I will cover some of the functions or all of the functions in the near future, but this will run like lightning on a new computer, an old computer. This is not like anything else you'll see desktop environment wise. There's not really currently any like TUI desktop environments, let's say, on the Linux console. There isn't any things like this really. So play around with it. Let me know what you think. And in the next videos, in the next streams, I will be showing the different functions of it, just to show it off for people who might be interested in using it. So have a little play around with that. I'll have in the description links to how to set up a base install of Arch Linux, or use the Arch wiki to do that. And it runs on Artix Linux as well. So have a base installation and follow this video instruction, and you'll have TTYSH. Pretty simple to set up, but that's it. I hope you like that. What is Nmap? It's like a networking tool, isn't it? It's running on a virtual machine, but I use the program on bare metal, so it's on my operating system as well. It's an Arch Linux operating system. TTYSH, if you like, is the desktop environment. Dragonfly BSD, you should give that a go. Yeah, maybe one day I'll give that a go. Sort of intrigued by NetBSD because that's so like just minuscule. But here's the thing. I mean, to be fair, Arch Linux is like nice defaults, but I actually use Hyperbola. So as you probably know. Hey man, I'm new here. What's going on? Hey man, I'm new here too. I have no idea what's going on, and I'm doing the stream. Well, Nabil, what's going on is TTYSH is a desktop environment. That's not a desktop environment, it's a text-top environment, somebody explained. So if you know Linux and you know that you have like GNOME, you have KDE, you have Cosmic Desktop now, or you have window managers like i3 and whatever. This is none of those. This is literally, if you like, a Linux server install with a text top or a text-based desktop environment is the best way I can describe it. It's not really anything like it. That's a VM because you can't share TTY. I don't know. I've done quite a few streams. I've never had an issue sharing the TTY, if that makes sense. Oh, I see what you mean. You're wondering why I can share the TTY. It's because it's on a virtual machine. Dragonfly is a continuation of FreeBSD 4, so it's more Unix-like and it's generally really good. Okay, thanks for the heads up. But you did mention Dragonfly BSD, which is different, right? It's different from, technically different from FreeBSD. The problem to solve is probably multitasking. The problem to solve is probably multitasking. What do you mean? What tasks need solving multitasking wise? Well, 11 people down to 8. Yeah, so obviously I've shown off TTYSH. Let me put it in the chat. This is the command you'd run: git clone. That's what you would run in the shell on your base installation of Arch to get the package. What should I start learning to be able to handle Arch installation by myself? Okay, good question. Right, so what I would suggest, and without sounding like conceited and arrogant, first thing I would do is basically go through my videos from beginning, because a lot of the videos I do are effectively setting up a base Arch installation with base functionality, so to speak, without having a desktop environment. So with that in mind, you will learn how to use the command line. You will learn how to use command line type programs, and you won't be so dependent on graphical user interfaces. So you will learn more fundamental concepts of Arch Linux. And haven't done everything on there, but I've covered quite a lot. So obviously go on my channel. Otherwise, look at Luke Smith. Look at old videos of Brody Robertson. And if you want, and it's worth, you want to specifically learn like Shell and Bash, Chris Occhipinti, and programming, basically. Those three, in that kind of order, maybe, are really the best people to learn from. Oh, and to be fair, learn Linux TV. Learning Linux TV is very good in relation to the crash course. And then maybe old videos of DistroTube for certain programs. Got Bletu as well. But for Arch, I think it would be nice to set up with BTRFS plus Snapper. I'm sure there's a 3-part tutorial somewhere on YouTube. Yeah, I'm sure there is. You're welcome. Good luck. But like I said as well, being conceited, my videos are pretty good if you want like a base installation of Arch and starting to learn stuff from the command line, certain command line programs. You don't need to install GNOME. You don't need to install KDE, Cosmic Desktop, whatever. But as well, if you've got TTYSH, again, you can start learning certain things or learning about certain programs and sticking with the Linux console, because that's really under the hood. The Linux console is your gateway to Linux. That doesn't mean, obviously, if you're using Xterm on X11, you don't have access, of course, to the shell, and going into packages. But it depends what you want to do. Do you want to become like a system administrator? Then you want to be in the Linux console, basically. A friend of mine has an HP tablet running Windows 11, and it was very unsuitable for a touchscreen device. I installed Universal Bluefin for him, and he's satisfied with it. Apparently, GNOME is quite good for touchscreens. Okay, nice. Hi, Iron Fist. So I did a video on like phones and things, and here's the thing. I wouldn't want a tablet or a phone that is terminal centric. Really, those devices are specifically touched devices, and one of the things that amuses me about certain Linux people is that arbitrarily shoehorning in Linux terminals in any device is technically nice to have, but it wouldn't be the way I would use a device. Using a device like that is what touchscreens are perfect for, what graphical user interfaces are perfect for. Because a lot of people might presume I'm anti-graphical user interfaces, whereas specifically I'm anti-graphical user interfaces for these things, laptops. Being that a laptop, and I've done a video on this before, laptops have tens and tens of keys. They're there to be used sometimes in combination, and they're text keys, and it can be a typewriter, it can be that kind of thing. It's got a multitude of keys. Therefore, it's perfect for text input. It's perfect for shortcuts, and having like a mouse to me is unintuitive or unnecessary for a desktop. But as we know, since the personal computer became popular, the mouse has been king and the graphical user interface has been king. But I think that's a bad design decision. However, I think a bad design decision would be having a tablet or a phone that isn't a graphical user interface, but a terminal, and you'd have to type in the keys on some pseudo keyboard on your phone. To me, that's crazy. Exactly. That's why I chose Bluefin for him. It's very simple out of the box and it's immutable. He installs apps mainly as Flatpaks. Yeah, so when you said Bluefin, I assumed that was going to be an immutable system. So so it creates a whole image, right? I'm assuming. So when you install some new packages, for example, he installs a new application, it creates a whole new image of that state of desktop, right? So when you restart, I guess you have like loads of different states, like you possibly would have lots of different Linux kernels or whatever. That's probably not a good analogy, but yeah, I think most people know what I mean. You obviously do. It's immutable, so it creates a snapshot of the system, right? And that terminal on SmartRing, exactly. That's what we need in the world. The most normal system you could imagine. But hey, I mean, that sounds like a good thing. I wouldn't want I'll be honest, I wouldn't want like some sort of Linux console Arch install on a tablet. Sounds like hell to me. Can I find out someone's Wi-Fi password from PowerShell? Okay, that is like the most random thing. I don't know. What I would suggest is if you want to be a hacker or something, go on like Kali Linux and look at the documentation. I'm sure they've got some, I don't know, package that, although PowerShell, that's Windows, isn't it? Windows Windows command line. So maybe not Kali Linux. I really don't know. I'm sure there's some package out there. Yeah, install, was it Aircrack NG? I think I've heard of that, and to hack people. Yeah, on Linux. Do it on Linux. Windows sounds like hell to me to do that. Just watch out for the authorities, okay? I do use terminal on my tablet, but only when it's paired with a keyboard in some sort of laptop mode. Yeah. So here's the thing. I mean, that's a sort of classic one. What always worries me about tablets is it's like what is it? It's obviously you've got a specific use for it. Like anybody has their own specific use for any device. But it's always interesting to me with a tablet when you start pairing keyboards with it. To me, it's just like having a disappointing laptop. I'd rather just have a laptop with me. I have technically used a tablet with like a Bluetooth keyboard. I don't know. I just again, it's like crossing form factors, crossing design ideas. You've got all the functionality of the keys, but you've got, and I know you can, customize, certain environments and ensure certain key shortcuts, but you're probably going to have some kind of user interface, graphical user interface that came with the device. And it just, to me, you just have a whole lost amount of functionality if you're trying to use it as a laptop. But hey, you might need to just do, type a document and you've only got your tablet with you. Maybe the tablet is, more convenient. But that's the other thing. I'd like a laptop because I can close the screen right onto the keyboard. So it's all just compact and safe. Sorry, when I say this stuff, I'm not ragging on anyone. You do what's right for you. But when people mention these things, I just like talking about it. Meaning it is possible or not. I don't know. I assume it's possible. Here you go. If you want to, here you go. I am actually going to help you out. Rorex Rorex. I am going to help you out. I'm not a fan of his channel, but there is a channel called Network Chuck. If you go on his channel and you go through old videos of his, he will show you how to do these types of things. Perhaps not necessarily specific, maybe PowerShell. I think he does some Windows command line stuff. So there you go. Can you find out a Wi-Fi password during a live stream? How random. I don't really, what does that even mean? You mean you want me to do it? No, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to break the law. I'm not going to be in prison for the Misuse of Computers Act on a live stream. Good luck, though. There you go. Network Chuck. He will teach you. In tablet mode with UI with GNOME is all right for YouTube. Use the pin in external if you want to doodle or write something. Okay. Now it's funny, isn't it? Because was it like 10 years ago? Ubuntu, wasn't it? Ubuntu, the distribution, were trying to have like a universal computer environment, wasn't it? Like Unity was going to be for like your tablet, for your phone, for your desktop, for your laptop. But this is also sort of where I feel that you know, these designs aren't overlapping magisteria for devices. My guy, we aren't hackers. What is going on with that leaf blower? I'm sure he's blown the same leaf around the same area for the last. He probably assumed we do penetration stuff since we discussed Linux and terminals. I know. It's not perfect though, yeah. So, how far have you studied? Not far enough. Like I said, go on Network Chuck. Learn Kali Linux. Set up some virtual machines. Hack yourself. See if I can get. Links. Row Rex. Yeah, I'm not. Sorry, it sounds like I'm being harsh to it. I'm not a fan of Network Chuck, but he's clearly very experienced security software. I think that's sort of where he's done his training and learning. But I mean, his channel is just. But to be fair, if you go back over old videos, he does tell you what you need to do. You want to learn networking, security. That's what you want. It should be funny. I wonder if I could find one of his videos. I don't know if I can. There's a lot of stuff here. There you go. There's a link to one of his playlists. Probably, I don't know what specifically is on there. Don't know. David Bombal goes into network security. I've heard of him. David Bombal. I'm sure I've heard of him. Yeah, I don't think I've looked at his channel, but I've heard of him. What do you think of SE Linux and AppArmor? So SE Linux is like secure Linux, is that right? Does he have additional security protections? I don't really have an opinion about, say, how good SE Linux is. What's interesting, I don't know if this was true, but I did hear from, now I think this was from Kai Hendry, who said like SE Linux was unnecessary. Was it Kai Hendry? If you know Kai Hendry, he used to do a lot of Linux videos. Now I don't know. I'm not in the secure Linux field, but I have heard accusations that SE Linux actually isn't a good implementation of a secure Linux distribution or a way to have a secure Linux. Like it's unnecessary. Or was it? Funny enough, was it like something like Snowden or whatever? So if you want like a secure Linux distribution, maybe use something like Cubes OS. But I don't know. This is the thing. I'm not obviously in that world. That kind of stuff doesn't matter to me as such. What I would say, interestingly, is Hyperbola does certain security things in relation to like X11, just like I think permission wise. It's a weird tangent, but I thought I'd mention that. And as for AppArmor, I don't know about AppArmor. I feel I've heard of it. Oh, okay. AppArmor is like a Linux kernel security module. Okay, right. Okay, so AppArmor uses a simpler path-based approach. Okay. Yeah, I'd be honest, I'm probably not the person to ask. I wouldn't know what is better, AppArmor or SE Linux, and I'm not in that world, so I've never used them. I wouldn't know. All I'd say is I've heard from certain people that SE Linux is not a good implementation of security, but I don't know. Maybe something like Cubes OS is better. Okay, I didn't realize that SE Linux comes from on Fedora. Oh, okay, AppArmor's on Ubuntu. I didn't know that. I mean, I don't know. I would assume one of the best people to ask about having a secure enough or as secure as possible operating system be somebody like Edward Snowden, right? Because of the nature of his work in intelligence agencies and the fact that he obviously exposed intelligence agencies' behavior and then obviously had to flee for his so he wouldn't get imprisoned or whatever. And obviously he has like a Twitter page or X page, and he's talked on security. I think he uses something called Cubes OS. So if you need elevated security or whatever you want to call it, privacy or compartmentalization, I can't speak properly, then maybe look at what Edward Snowden suggests. And I think he suggested something like Cubes OS, but that doesn't really answer SE Linux and AppArmor. I don't know. I mean, maybe others use them. I don't know, but when I saw them, they are. Okay, so I'm leaving because it's already night here, so if needing anything, I would definitely like to watch your headline videos. Okay, Rex time, Rex I'm. Thank you very much. I don't know if I can give you what you need from my videos, but thanks. Yeah, Cubes is literally a hypervisor, runs everything on a VM. Yeah, so Cubes, I think, like say, is a hypervisor, but does this like compartmentalization, so you have different permissions across all these cubes, right? All these hypervisors, and like some have network access, some don't, some are different distributions, some, you know, some is like a password vault. Yeah, I think Mental Outlaw did videos on this, but I'm obviously not the person to ask. I'm just a dude who has opinions on the Linux desktop, or as somebody coined it yesterday now, the Linux text top, TTYSH. Well, I got 6 likes in this stream. SE Linux just puts further restrictions on processes over regular permissions, basically sandboxing, I guess. Right. Okay. That was my assumption as well. I'd like to remember who it was who criticized SE Linux. I think it was Kai Henry. Maybe I'll have a look. Yeah, I don't know who it was. Anyway, has anyone noticed that x86 32-bit support has become very difficult to find in the Linux world? Debian 13 retired x86. All right, I didn't realize Debian retired x86 32-bit. Yeah, so, well, obviously I have literal experience of this because I'm probably the only, well, minor Linux YouTuber anyway, Linux YouTuber who runs 32-bit desktop Linux still. And of course, when I covered Hyperbola, which treats 32-bit as first class, meaning it's supported as well as 64-bit equally, they make a point of that, which is nice as well. Outside of Hyperbola, really, you've only got what I would assume would have been Debian, but if you're saying it's retired it, which I didn't realize, I thought it was still going for Debian. That again narrows down your options even more. I think maybe Void Linux still supports 32-bit. I'm not even sure. And maybe is it and I can't even pronounce Antix Linux. I think supports some sort of 32-bit architecture. But yes, there aren't many, certainly 32-bit desktop supporting distributions anymore. Interestingly, OpenBSD still supports 32-bit, which I think they still support as like first class, but I might be wrong on that. All I know is Hyperbola does, which is a Libre distribution, which is nice. Interestingly, Parabola, which is another Libre distribution, which is like a Arch Linux equivalent distribution, more so than Hyperbola is. When I tried to install the 32-bit, the GPG key, or well, the keys, the Pacman keys, if you like, for the package installer, were out of date, so I couldn't update the system. So that's another thing when you're considering 32-bit Linux desktop, which now just seems to be Hyperbola. The nice thing with Hyperbola is you really want a stable distribution for 32-bit Linux, because clearly Parabola have almost no interest in maintaining even their keys for 32-bit, let alone bugs and breakages. So you want that tester stability and that attitude as well, which Hyperbola does. I've had no real issues with 32-bit Hyperbola. It's great. My father has an old 32-bit pre-built HU POM-PAC machine, and I had harsh time finding beginner-friendly distro for him. I installed something called Antix. They're Debian-based, but committed to x86. Yeah, I think I mentioned a minute ago Antix. The only thing with Antix, though, I think they don't support all the architectures, so to speak. So there's certain chipsets with 32-bit I think they don't support, or maybe it was just I had a problem once. I had a 32-bit machine, another 32-bit machine that I was playing around with a couple of years ago, and I tried to install Antix on it and it broke. The install didn't work, and I'm sure it said something about the architecture. It had to be like a certain more modern chipset. I can't remember. Maybe it's just skill issues. Iron Fist says, people say it is complex and breaks stuff because it denies access. Well, that's the thing. It's always the thing. If you're using like bespoke software distributions, unless you're well versed in like secure systems and all this, it's probably not going to work for a normal person. Even myself, I'm not necessarily I'm not invested in the security world, so to speak. So SE Linux is something I wouldn't be familiar with. I don't know how difficult it is to use. Yeah, there are many x86 variants: i386, i486, i586, and i686. So you've got to pay attention. Yeah, and that's the thing. I think I might be wrong, but I can't remember if Antix said it supported i686 and not i386. But I can't remember. I don't know. I just know I had an issue with it. And at that time, the only thing I could get installed on it that was still being maintained outside of, say, Hyperbola and Parabola was, and obviously I wasn't going to install them because of the lack of proprietary Wi-Fi drivers for Wi-Fi, sorry. The only option available was Debian, and it ran terribly because obviously, although you can choose what desktop environment you want, let's say, or window, I think maybe even window managers, I can't remember. I had obviously their sort of recommended install of GNOME or whatever it was. It was just horrible experience, because obviously, you know, they're not interested, or GNOME's certainly not going to be interested in supporting. It just kills your resources, right? You're not going to run GNOME nicely on a 32-bit computer anymore. That's basically it, as far as I could tell. Certainly on a laptop with like 2 gigabytes of RAM. That's why TTYSH is perfect, okay? Because it's lightning on any computer. Of course, you always have Gen 2. It supports any architecture you could imagine, but good luck doing Gen 2 on an old 32-bit dual-core CPU. Yeah, so like you say, Gen 2 will of course work on 32-bit, but I don't know, imagine if you were seriously using Gen 2, imagine compiling all of that software without using binaries, or compiling the binaries. It would be hell, wouldn't it? Or, you know, just, I don't know, because Gen 2 does give you binaries now, doesn't it? Certain packages, or most packages you can get as a binary, which is kind of pointless to using Gen 2, really, if it just becomes another opinionated distribution of binaries, right? It just becomes another Arch Linux, but, well, not even opinionated. Of course, Arch Linux isn't really opinionated. It's just like nice defaults. Yeah, I wouldn't like the idea of compiling my system through 32-bit computer, but I might be naive there. What's interesting is Hyperbola Linux, the kernel it uses for the 32-bit, apart from obviously cutting out all the proprietary stuff that comes with the kernel, it's, I guess because it's a 32-bit kernel, the actual kernel size is only like 60 megs. So it's like under half the size of the 64-bit one, say you get on Arch Linux with all the proprietary stuff included. Yeah, the selling point of Gen 2, in my opinion, is portage. There are several other source-based distros, but compilation is purely manual and horrible. Portage is great. Yeah, it's funny. You don't really hear too much about source-based distributions apart from Gentoo, and I guess that's probably because of Portage, right? Which makes it just sort of nicer, because Portage you set flags, I think. I can't remember. Compilation flags, right? And it just kind of does it all for you. But you know, apart from Linux from scratch, I wouldn't know much about source based distros. You got Crux and Slackware. Oh yeah, of course, Slackware. I keep forgetting Slackware. Crux. I don't know if I've heard of Crux. Let's have a look at that. Okay, interesting. Never heard about that. It's pretty incredible that Slackware is still going after all these years. It's obviously a good distribution. Yes, I'll probably leave it there soon. So unless you guys have got any other things you want to talk about Linux wise. 9 people now. No, it's good stuff. Yap away. I'll give it a few minutes because there's 8 people in here, incredibly. All very quiet apart from yourself, Ahmed, and Iron Fist. Eating a breakfast taco and watching. Well, I appreciate you taking your time to watch my stream. Because I'm kind of always surprised that anybody watches my stream. Although I do give you TTYSH, which is novel and different. I don't know. I feel like I'm actually not informed enough on like modern Linux events and things. I feel like I'm always behind the Linux news, but hey, I'm just doing my stuff really, so. Because I guess, would anybody really want another Linux video from another Linux YouTuber on Cosmic Desktop or Linus Torvalds ranting in the Linux kernel? I guess people do. People like that stuff, but I don't really cover that kind of stuff. Because what you really want to hear is a guy who uses 32-bit hyperbola Linux that nobody uses, and nobody's, apart from myself, probably going to use. You want me to cover all the events nobody cares about. The only thing I'd say about myself, though, is I do back up my words with actions, you know. So I really do exist in the Linux world using hyperbola, using the TTY. I'm not just doing it for effect. I do live and breathe that, so to speak. Okay then, guys, I'll leave it there. I'll probably do another stream tomorrow, covering some TTYSH stuff, covering some Linux news stuff, answering questions I probably have no answers to. The usual way my streams go, right? So anyway, enjoy the rest of your day, guys, and maybe I'll see you tomorrow. Take care. Thanks for watching.